absolutely magnificent. If it's as good as this, you'll be doing well. Now, we often talk about how expensive seafood is. Look, I know Australia is surrounded by the blessed stuff, but there is still overfishing in Australia too, so we're not quite as fortunate as we once were, but we still have, you know, more than most, and we've got some beautiful seafood. And, you know, when you get something that's wonderful and fresh and it's just been caught, oh, it's hard to beat, isn't it? Anyway, the point of the story is something that is still affordable is mussels. And lots of them are farmed, and they're farmed very successfully because that really works. They actually grow them on strings. I don't know whether you've ever seen them. That's why mussels these days are not actually sandy. You know, the old days when they used to dredge them from the bottom of the sea, well, they were always sandy, and they used to have, well, you used to have terrible trouble getting rid of the sand, didn't you? But these days, as I said, they're farmed, and they are beautiful, and they are affordable. So get out there and buy some. They really are an affordable, beautiful seafood. Mollusk they actually are. They're not a crustacean, they're a mollusk. Anyway, why did I go off on that tangent? Because I was waiting for this to heat up. What I've got here, I'm doing a really nice, slightly different one with some Asian flavours. And I've got a couple of good cloves of garlic, and I've got a couple of chilies, which I have seeded and finely sliced. We've also got a couple of tablespoons of grated fresh ginger. So we're just throwing that into the wok, which is the easiest way to cook mussels. And we're just going to saute that reasonably briefly just to release the aromas. And to that we then add, now what have I got in here? I can't remember. My dear mate Glenn decided to put it in a cup for me for some strange reason. I know what I've got. I've got half a cup of fish stock, and I've got half a cup of the Chinese wine. So I've got half a cup of that, and I've got half a cup of Chinese wine. To that, I then add a good slurp of soy and a good slurp of oyster sauce. And I'm just going to bring that to the boil. And then we are going to add the mussels. Now, the big secret about mussels, look, I know I had a Frenchman ring me just recently. He said, you cook mussels on the show. That's ridiculous. You don't have to pull them out one at a time. He said, you just shake them, which I know when I used to moule mariniere when I first started in French kitchens, and you put a lid on them and you shake the pot and you shake the pot and you shake the pot, and supposedly they all turn around and they all open together. Well, that's not actually what happens. You always end up with some mussels that are about this big because they ended up at the wrong part of the pot and they're overcooked. So my way, where you pull them out the second they open, to me, is better. Sorry, Pierre, I'm very sorry about that, but that's just yeah, you do what you like, but, you know, I think it's better. All right, guys, as soon as that comes to the boil, in with the mussels. Now, I've got about 1.5 kilos there. I'll just put about 1 kilo in at this moment. I think 1.5 kilos is a bit too much. It's only for me. And maybe I'll allow the crew to have a little taste, if I'm in a good mood. So just turn those around, cover them, and as I said, as they open, we are going to pull them out and put them in our big bowl, which is just sitting there. All right. All right. Some of them are starting to open. Now, you can take a half shell off if you like, or you can just do what I do and just sort of press it back a bit. So you've got the half shell there. So they're easy to eat. Just have a look at that one, mate. You'll see what I mean about how juicy that is. Look at that. That a beautiful, juicy mussel. Can't complain about that, can you? While I'm waiting for these last ones to open, what I'll do is add a little bit of palm sugar, Not too much. A little bit of fresh coriander. And some fresh lime. Just mix that up. Now, there's two schools of thoughts about the one that don't open. Some people say you should force them open. Some people say they're dead and you shouldn't. Now, it's up to you because I'm not quite sure. I really am not. I get emails from people telling me, I get emails about this too, telling me that I shouldn't say they're dead. The ones at the beginning, if they won't shut, yes, they are dead. But they do send me these emails. Now, it's up to you guys. I'm not going to make any more comments about it ever again. As I said, you can force them open with an oyster knife if you so desire, because I'm told it won't cause you any grief. Bit of tartness, bit of sweetness, all the good things. Oh, I think I'm being a bit greedy in saying I'm eating these all by myself. All right, guys, a lovely mussel dish. Nice flavours, really has got nice flavours. It's got a bit of piquancy. There's not a lot of heat in it, which is nice, but it just has got that little bite to it. I really like this dish. I think this is a ripper. Now, I can never, ever see a reason to make a little pot of soup. I really can't. I'm sorry, I can't. Because to me, it is a wonderful convenience food. You put it in the freezer in sort of, when I say individual portions, if it's just for one person, fine. But you put it into, say, some of those Chinese takeaway containers, you shove it in the freezer. When you need something fast and efficient, forget ordering a pizza, forget ordering something off the internet. What you do, can you order food off the internet? I suppose you can. What you do is you pull out your soup, stick it in the microwave or in a pot, and away you go. So that's the reason I always make big pots of soup. Right, and today's no exception. We're making a beef and root vegetable soup, which is going to be lovely. One of my particular favourites, because I love root vegetables, I really do, and I think it's a shame that we don't eat more of them, particularly in, in the season, that is, because they're always reasonably priced and they're always delicious. First of all, a couple of onions which I've chopped reasonably roughly. Just saute those with some olive oil. And then we've got 600 grams of lean beef, which I've diced fairly finely. And we'll throw that in as well. And we're just cooking that to seal it in a bit. Because it's such a small dice, you don't have to brown it. Just as long as it's sealed, we are fine. And I've also got, I've got a couple of cloves of garlic there somewhere. I know I have. Yes, I have. There we go. I'll just grab my garlic crusher. And we will put those in as well. All right, that's looking rather good. That's about all we need. You can stay there, mate, because I'm just going to bring my board over. And I've got the odd vegetable. I really am making a very big pot today, aren't I? What I've got is a couple of Swedes. I've got a couple of turnips, any root vegetables. I've got a couple of medium carrots, a couple of medium potatoes, also a couple of parsnips, and last but not least, one largish celeriac. And I've just cubed all these, peeled them first, of course, and then just put them into the pot. Don't worry about doing anything with oil or anything. I'm just going to just toss that around so it all gets mixed up. And then I'm going to add a few other things. First of all, a couple of bay leaves and a few sprigs of thyme, 1 cup of white wine, a couple of cans of diced tomatoes, decent amount of salt and pepper, we can always add some salt and pepper at the end if we feel that it needs it, so Don't worry about that too much. And also what I've got here is some of this terrific packet stock. And I'm putting about 2.5 litres, but we'll just see how we go. I've got a couple of chicken stock and a few of beef. So we get a sort of a combination happening there. And I think we'll end up putting 2 to start, and then we'll add maybe another ½ litre as we go along. Or, yeah, maybe a little bit more. All right. So we've got all our things. We've got some tomatoes, we've got some white wine, we've got that terrific stock, and we've got our vegetables, our potatoes. I'm not going to go through them all again, am I? I'll bore you. All right, we've got our beef. Now, I'm just going to cook that. I would say for about an hour until everything is very tender, and I mean it. You know, we're not doing al dente vegetables. We want everything melting and, you know, sort of becoming part of this beautiful soup. And then we'll come back and just taste it for seasoning, and we'll go from there. All right, guys, about an hour, I reckon. All right, we're looking good with the soup, guys. Let's just have a little taste for seasoning, see if it needs anything else. Hot. Needs a bit of salt. And then we can serve. I did put another half packet, or another packet, I would say. I'm telling fibs there, I'm getting a bit mixed up, of stock in. I felt it needed it. Of course, it does depend how thick you want it, doesn't it? Mainly, I just want lots of veggies and some beef and a nice flavoursome stock, which I've got all that. Haven't I? A little bit of parsley on the top. And clean up with my chucks. Not 6 of them, just 1, Iain. And we, my friends, are in business. And remember, freeze any leftover for another day, because that's a ripper soup. You know, it's just real basic tucker, though, isn't it? We're not talking about fancy pants food, but the thing about it is it's got lots of flavour. It's fairly reasonably priced to make because there's not a lot of beef in it, but it still just adds that little bit of magic to it. You know, every now and then you get a nice tender piece of lean beef. Anyway, I would eat that 3 or 4 times a week happily.
Small unit, massive headache.
Unless we accept a huge loss on this property, we are stuck.
With strata restrictions and a limited budget, it's proving hard to sell.
This isn't going to be easy.
Any ideas?
Should we contact it instead?
Not on my watch, girlfriend.
It's not just what you know, but who you know that counts.
Do you realise your talent? You are a magician.
Just wait till you see the backyard.
Wow!
New Selling Houses Australia, tonight, 8:30 on Lifestyle.
Debt. Gone. Stress. Gone. Hassles. Gone. Too much debt? Beyond Debt has helped thousands of Australians with debt problems. You do have options. If you have debts of $8,000 or more, call Beyond Debt for a free consultation. Don't put it off. Life's better when you're Beyond Debt. Call 1300 871 603 now for a free consultation, or go to beyonddebt.com.au.
Introducing the new Foxtel Kids app, our awesome new app just for kids. With their favourite shows. All in one safe place. Whether they stream to watch now or download to take with them. You know they'll always be in good company. It's included as part of the kids pack. Get the app today.
I'm about to meet someone who reckons they can build their house in just 2 weeks.
It's a building method new to Australian homes. A flat pack mansion could be the answer for their first home build.
It's easy, it's just building. Maybe he'll change the way we build in Australia forever. Do you feel like you're a bit of a guinea pig? Sometimes, yes.
Economical, efficient and environmental.
Impressive, isn't it?
Could this be the future of Grand Designs? New Grand Designs Australia. Tomorrow, 8:30 on Lifestyle.
Now, this is definitely one of my favourite cuts of meat for a special occasion. A rack of pork, good quality pork, of course, and French trimmed, so the bones are there. You've got that. And the other thing you ask your lovely butcher to do is score it very finely. They've done a wonderful job here. My mates at J&L Butchery have done it. Look at it, look how fine that is. I don't know whether I would ever do that, but if your butcher hasn't done it, you know the best way to score it? Use a Stanley knife. You remember the Stanley knife? Now, the other thing we always talk about is crackling. So we've got our lovely cut of pork, which is a rack of pork. I've got 6 points on it, so that's enough for 6 people. And everyone talks about the crackling, quite rightly, because it's very, very important. The first thing you do is just some olive oil and rub that in really, really well. Now, I've seen everyone sort of has a different way of getting wonderful crackling, and I think it was Neil Perry the other day was talking about pouring some really hot oil over it at the end. I've never had to do that. I've always found this works. Just that and a decent amount of salt, and you rub that in really well too. So top quality olive oil, top quality sea salt, rub them both in really, really well, and you will find that you get a wonderful crackling. The other thing, which is important, is that you don't baste it, because if you baste it, you're going to soften it. So don't pour anything over the top. But I am going to put some chicken stock in here, because what I want is some nice pan juices. So while it's cooking, I'll put some chicken stock in every now and then. But as I said, not over the top. So that just goes in the basin. Because you've got the rack, you've got the bones, so actually the meat is actually sitting out of the liquid. So it then goes into an oven. Now, this is the other important thing. We start off with the oven at 210 degrees. Now, that is hot, not fan-forced. 210 degrees. We cook it for 20 minutes. Then we turn it down to 170 degrees, also not fan-forced. And I would say check it after 3/4 of an hour. It may take an hour, but check it after 3/4 of an hour. And you want the juices to run clearish. They can have the slightest touch of pink, but only the very slightest. All right, this should be about ready. It's looking good, I can tell you that. Because I'm biased as heck, aren't I? Look at that crackling. Look at that crackling. I'll just grab a pair of tongs and pull it out. And just rest it on that board while we finish off these juices. I'm just lighting that, and I'm going to reduce that a bit. Now, I can add a bit more stock if I like, and I will, but not too much, because we want that to rest for a little bit. And we'll just reduce that, and we're going to serve it with the fresh figs, which I've got here. So let's just think of a couple of those. Put those on the plate. I'm not cooking these. You can grill them if you like, or barbecue, or even put them in the oven, just very briefly, because they really do taste wonderful if they're just caramelised slightly. You know, those lovely sweet juices come out. But today, it's just very simple. And what I'm going to add at the end is just some balsamic and some olive oil. Now, let's just throw some lemon into those pan juices. So we've got those ready. That'll have the balsamic and the olive oil. And we're going to throw that lemon juice in there. Just a nice lemony sauce will be wonderful. Beautiful lemons at the moment. I don't even need my lemon squeezer because they're so juicy. And once that's reduced, we'll check it for seasoning. We'll put some butter in. We'll put some parsley. But that'll be in a minute or two. All right, a good dollop of butter in there. That just helps the sauce, makes it gleam a bit more, gives it a bit more body. It's optional. You can leave it out if you like. but it does make a difference, and some chopped parsley. And I'll just grab a wooden spoon and just mix those. And as soon as that butter's melted, we're fine there. But I will check the seasoning. You can turn it off now. Let's have a little taste. It's only supposed to be a light pan juice. Oh, that lemon. Lovely. I'll put the smallest amount more stock in and turn it back on for just a second. Just lovely pan juices, you know, with the flavour of the pork, the lemon. Oh, yes, like that. Now, it's just, oh, it's so crisp, it's so good. What I'll do is I'll take that bit off because I can see it's going to make it difficult to carve, and then I will just carve a nice chop off. Even the next one. Next one's prettier. And we will turn that over, and I'll just turn that sauce off. Sorry, guys, I knew I'd forgotten something. Just grab that away, that bit of fat, and we will cut ourselves a nice bit of crackling, which I'm going to put over the top in about a minute. And then, let's pick this up. Sorry, mate, I'm going over here. And excuse fingers. Piece of crackling on the top. And my chucks, of course, will come into use because I've made a mess. And last but not least, a little bit of balsamic. Not too much balsamic, guys. Can take over. Just a little bit over there. Goodness, I've got my chucks there, hasn't it? Because I've made a right mess. A little bit of olive oil. Clean that up. And that, my friends, is special. It really is. The sweetness of the figs and the balsamic, which will just bring out their flavour. Nice crisp crackling and a beautifully cooked pork rack chop. Very proud of myself. It's good stuff. Tommy Sledge, the American comedian, once said, he said, cured ham. No thanks. I want to know what it's been cured of. I like that. All right, see ya.
We'll be running the longest, heaviest train we've ever run.